Hi class, today I'm going to teach you all about integers. We're going to learn how to identify them, graph them, and find their opposites. By looking at this front screen, some of you might have a clue of what I'm going to be talking about with integers. Let's actually open up our notes packet to the first page, 9-1, and we're going to jot down some definitions while I'm doing this video. Again, you can always pause or rewind it if I'm going too fast and you need to catch up with what the definitions are. So the first thing we need to know then, what exactly are integers? So next to integers, let's write down integers are whole numbers. So that's going to be something like 5 and 7 and 15, and even things like 0 or -2 or -7. I cannot do any fractions or decimals, so 1/2 is not an integer, and 0.8 would not be an integer. From there, I have both positive and negative integers. Positive integers are going to be greater than 0. So on your notes packet next to positive integers, let's jot down greater than 0. On our number line, that's going to be everything to the right of my 0. So let's draw an arrow on our number line going to the right, and let's label that those are all of our positive values. If you notice, they don't have any sort of symbol in front of them. It's implied that they're positive when I just have the number written. I don't need to write a plus symbol in front of them. Some of you might have been able to figure out what negative integers are then. Negative integers are going to be things that are less than 0. So next to where it says negative integers, let's jot down less than 0. So on my number line, that's going to be everything to the left of 0. So let's also add an arrow that's pointing to the left of where it is. If it'll show up on my screen, there it is. So I have everything, an arrow going to the left, and I'm going to label that negative. So we have both positive and negative integers. Well, now that I know what integers are, I can use integers to represent real-life situations. So if I have a temperature of 7 degrees below 0, I know that's going to be something that's less than 0, so that would be a negative number. In fact, it would be -7 would be the exact integer to represent that. If I spend $34, I have $34 less than what I started with, so that's going to also represent a negative integer. -34 would be what I would call that. Let's say I'm going hiking. I hike to an altitude of 4,000 feet. So I start here on the ground, and I climb up a high mountain, and I end up 4,000 feet above where I started. So since that's going to be greater than 0, it's going to be a positive 4,000. I don't need to write any sort of symbol in front again, because positive numbers are just represented without any sort of symbol. But let's say now I'm going swimming. So here's my water, and I'm going to dive way down into the water, and I go 300 feet below sea level. Since I went less than 0, that's going to be a -300. So this is some examples of how I can use integers to name real-life situations. Well, what else can I do with integers? I can also find the integers' opposites. This is going to be a little bit longer of a definition, so if you need to pause it, try it down, feel free to do so. Opposites are going to be two numbers that are the same distance from 0 but on opposite sides. So please add that into your notes packet at this time. Again, you can always use the hashtag symbol for the word number. So two numbers, same distance from 0, but they're going to be on opposite sides of 0. So I'm going to have a positive and I'm going to have a negative version of that integer. If I look on my number line, I have 0 right here. And if I have the number 5, I need to figure out, well, what number is the same distance from 0 to 5 but on the opposite side? Well, I have to now count 5 the other direction, so I would end up here at -5. So -5 and +5 are going to be opposites because they are the same distance from 0 but on opposite sides of 0. Let's see what happens when I start with a negative number. If I start down here at -9, I have to figure out, okay, to go from -9 to +0, that's still going to be 9 away from 0. So if I go 9 the other way from 0, I'm going to end up down here at +9. So when I'm dealing with opposites, I'm going to just be flipping the sign to figure out what the opposite of it is. So a positive integer's opposite becomes the negative version of it, and vice versa. Here's some information on integers and their opposites.